December 1939. Across Britain, newspapers were dominated by one question: where was the Altmark? After the destruction of the German pocket battleship Graf Spee at the Battle of the River Plate, British attention shifted to its supply ship, Altmark, which carried 299 captured British sailors. Bringing those prisoners home became a national priority, but the German vessel managed to evade the Royal Navy and headed toward Germany through neutral Norwegian waters. Norway insisted on staying out of the war. Its authorities inspected the Altmark several times and, finding no reason to stop it, allowed the ship to continue. Britain refused to accept that decision. In a dramatic operation, Royal Navy forces boarded the vessel without Norwegian approval and freed every British prisoner on board. The rescue thrilled Britain, but it shattered Norway's fragile neutrality. The incident immediately placed Norway in an impossible position. Germany accused Oslo of secretly helping Britain, while Britain believed Norway had been too accommodating toward Germany. Suddenly, the neutral nation found itself caught between two powerful enemies, each fearing the other would seize Norway first. At the outbreak of World War II, neither Britain nor Germany had considered Norway a primary battlefield. Norwegian Foreign Minister Halvdan Koht believed strict neutrality and careful diplomacy would keep the country safe, but geography was about to prove him wrong. Germany relied heavily on Swedish iron ore to keep its factories and weapons industry running. During winter, much of that valuable ore passed through the Norwegian port of Narvik before reaching Germany. British leaders recognized this as one of Germany's greatest strategic weaknesses. If the Narvik route could be cut, Germany's war machine would suffer a devastating blow. British planners debated several options, including mining Norwegian waters, enforcing a naval blockade, or even occupying northern Norway. Oslo rejected every proposal, fearing that any cooperation with Britain would trigger an immediate German invasion. Yet each passing week made Norway's position more dangerous. The Altmark incident changed everything. What had begun as a dispute over one ship quickly became a struggle for control of an entire nation. Unknown to Norway, both Britain and Germany were already preparing plans that could drag the country into a conflict it desperately wanted to avoid. Within months, the battle for Norway would begin, and Europe would witness one of the boldest surprise invasions of the Second World War. As tensions continued to rise, Britain searched for a way to cut Germany's access to Swedish iron ore without appearing to violate international law. An unexpected opportunity arrived when the Soviet Union invaded Finland during the Winter War. British and French leaders proposed sending troops to assist Finland, but their real objective was far more strategic: occupy key areas of Norway and secure the iron ore route before Germany could act. The plan, however, never materialized. Before Allied forces could move, the Winter War ended in March 1940, eliminating the political excuse for intervention. With time running out, Britain's First Lord of the Admiralty, Winston Churchill, pushed for a far bolder strategy. He argued that Norwegian waters should be mined to force German ore ships into the open sea, where the Royal Navy could destroy them. If Germany responded with force, Britain would immediately launch Operation R4, sending troops to occupy vital Norwegian ports. Germany was watching every British move. Adolf Hitler became increasingly convinced that Norway could not remain neutral for long. Reports from Norwegian fascist leader Vidkun Quisling warned that Britain might soon gain influence in the country, threatening Germany's northern supply line. Although many German officials doubted Quisling's credibility, Hitler refused to ignore the possibility. Norway also offered another priceless advantage. Its long coastline and deep fjords could provide Germany with powerful naval bases, allowing German warships and submarines to operate much more effectively in the North Atlantic. Protecting the iron ore route was important, but controlling Norway itself could transform Germany's entire naval strategy. In January 1940, Hitler secretly approved Operation Weserubung, one of the most daring military plans of the war. Thousands of soldiers, supported by warships, aircraft, and paratroopers, would launch simultaneous surprise attacks on Norway's major ports, cities, and airfields. The operation depended on speed, secrecy, and complete surprise. German troops would claim they were protecting Norway from an imminent British invasion, but they had clear orders: crush any resistance without hesitation. The countdown to invasion had begun. While Britain prepared its own plans, Germany was already assembling the force that would soon change the course of the war in Scandinavia. By early April 1940, both Britain and Germany were preparing to act, but neither realized how little time remained. British troops gathered in Scotland, ready to sail for Norway as soon as the order was given. Their mission was to occupy key coastal cities before Germany could secure them. But Hitler had already made his decision. On April 9, 1940, Operation Weserubung was set into motion. German warships quietly crossed the North Sea, carrying nearly 9,000 soldiers toward Norway, while thousands of paratroopers stood ready to seize strategic airfields. At the very same time, German forces prepared to invade Denmark, ensuring a secure supply route into Scandinavia. There were warning signs, but confusion prevented anyone from seeing the full picture. On April 8th, a Polish submarine sank a German transport ship carrying troops and supplies to Norway. Norwegian naval officers immediately reported suspicious German activity, yet the government remained focused on British mine-laying operations instead of a possible invasion. British intelligence also detected large German naval movements but misread them completely. Commanders believed the German fleet was attempting another breakout into the Atlantic rather than launching an invasion. That assumption proved disastrous. The confusion deepened when the British destroyer HMS Glowworm unexpectedly encountered the German heavy cruiser Admiral Hipper. Despite being hopelessly outgunned, Glowworm fought with extraordinary courage. In a final act of defiance, the destroyer rammed the much larger German cruiser, causing serious damage before sinking beneath the waves. Although the British crew displayed remarkable bravery, the battle failed to reveal Germany's true objective. Only after additional reports arrived did British commanders finally realized the truth. The German fleet was not escaping into the Atlantic, it was invading Norway. By then it was already too late. As German naval task forces raced toward Oslo, Bergen, Trondheim, Narvik, Stavanger, and Kristiansand, they expected resistance from Norwegian coastal defenses. On paper, those defenses looked formidable. In reality, many coastal forts lacked trained crews, modern equipment, and even sufficient ammunition. The stage was set for one of the boldest surprise attacks of the Second World War. And within hours, the fate of Norway would be decided by the thunder of Before dawn on April 9, 1940, German forces reached the entrance to the Oslo Fjord. Most Norwegian commanders still believed the approaching ships might belong to a friendly nation, but one officer refused to take that chance. At the historic Oscarsborg fortress, Colonel Birger Eriksen made a decision that would alter the course of the invasion. Without waiting for confirmation, he gave a simple order: open fire. Leading the German fleet was the powerful heavy cruiser Blücher, carrying hundreds of soldiers, senior officers, and officials assigned to seize Norway's capital. Its commander expected little or no resistance. Instead, the fortress's massive 28-centimeter guns erupted, sending enormous shells crashing into the cruiser. The first hits destroyed vital control systems, ignited fires, and killed dozens of troops preparing to land. Within moments, smaller coastal batteries joined the attack, turning the narrow fjord into a deadly trap. As Blücher struggled forward, the fortress unleashed another devastating surprise: hidden underwater torpedo tubes, rarely expected to be operational, fired directly into the cruiser. 2 torpedoes struck their target with tremendous force, triggering explosions that spread uncontrollably through the ship. Smoke filled the air as flames consumed ammunition stores and fuel tanks. Panic spread among the German soldiers. Many abandoned their positions, leaving watertight doors open, allowing fire and seawater to race through the vessel. Realizing the ship could no longer be saved, the captain ordered the crew to abandon ship. Within a short time, Blücher rolled over and disappeared beneath the freezing waters of the Oslo Fjord. It was one of Germany's most shocking naval losses of the campaign. The Norwegian gunners immediately shifted their attention to the next cruiser, Lützow, forcing it to retreat under heavy fire. Although the victory was brief, its impact was enormous. The sinking of Blücher delayed the German advance just long enough for King B. Haakon VII, the Norwegian government, and much of the nation's gold reserve to escape Oslo before German troops could capture them. Germany would still seize the capital later that day, but Norway's leaders were gone, and the invasion had already encountered its first major setback. The battle for Norway was only beginning, and the fiercest fighting. Although German troops entered Oslo later that day, their greatest objective had slipped away. King Haakon VII, members of the Norwegian government, and the country's gold reserves had already escaped, preserving Norway's legitimate leadership. Meanwhile, German forces rapidly secured Bergen, Stavanger, Kristiansand, Trondheim, and Narvik, while Denmark surrendered within hours of the invasion. Confident in his success, Adolf Hitler expected Norway to follow Denmark's example. German officials offered King Haakon a choice: accept German occupation, cooperate with Berlin and remain on the throne, or face war. At that very moment, another dramatic figure stepped onto the stage. Vidkun Quisling, leader of Norway's fascist National Samling Party, unexpectedly announced over national radio that he had formed a new government. Declaring himself Norway's new prime minister, he urged citizens to stop resisting and cooperate with the German forces. His announcement stunned the nation. Even German commanders had not expected Quisling to seize power so quickly. At first, Berlin ignored his declaration, but Hitler soon realized that Quisling could become a valuable political tool. Supporting a Norwegian collaborator would make the occupation appear more legitimate in the eyes of the world. King Haakon, however, refused to surrender. From the town of Elverum, he made one of the most courageous decisions of the war. He declared that he would never appoint Quisling as prime minister and would rather continue fighting than accept a government imposed by foreign invaders. His refusal united many Norwegians who had been uncertain only hours earlier. Across the country, resistance slowly began to organize. Colonel Otto Ruge, newly appointed commander-in-chief of the Norwegian army, ordered his forces to delay the German advance instead of fighting hopeless battles. His strategy was simple but critical: buy time until British and French troops could arrive. For the Allies, Norway had suddenly become a race against time. British warships steamed toward the Norwegian coast, determined to challenge Germany before it could strengthen its grip on the country. The next battlefield would be Narvik, a remote Arctic port that controlled the vital iron ore route. There, one of the most dramatic naval battles of World War II was about to unfold. While German forces tightened their grip across southern Norway, the struggle for Narvik was only beginning. The remote Arctic port was the key to Germany's supply of Swedish iron ore, making it one of the most valuable targets in Scandinavia. Although German troops had captured the town, their position was far from secure. The invasion force relied on 10 German destroyers that had carried soldiers into Narvik. The original plan called for these warships to refuel immediately and return to Germany before the Royal Navy could trap them. But the plan quickly unraveled. Fuel shortages and logistical delays left the destroyers stranded inside the narrow fjords, vulnerable to attack. Before dawn on April 10, 1940, 5 British destroyers silently entered the icy waters surrounding Narvik. Their commander, Captain Bernard Warburton Lee, knew his force was smaller, but surprise was on his side. Using heavy snowfall and poor visibility as cover, the British launched a sudden assault on the unsuspecting German fleet. The first torpedo attack was devastating. The German flagship Wilhelm Heidkamp was struck and exploded, killing the flotilla commander instantly. British destroyers pressed their advantage, sinking Anton Schmidt and heavily damaging several other German ships before the defenders could organize an effective response. But the battle was far from over. As the British attempted to withdraw, 2 German destroyers suddenly emerged from a side fjord and opened fire at point-blank range. Shells smashed into the British flagship HMS Hardy, mortally wounding Captain Warburton Lee. The crippled destroyer ran aground, while HMS Hunter was struck repeatedly before sinking beneath the freezing water with heavy loss of life. Both sides suffered painful casualties, yet the strategic picture had changed dramatically. Most of Germany's destroyers were now damaged, low on fuel and trapped inside Narvik. Worse still, the Royal Navy was already sending powerful reinforcements north. The first battle had ended without a clear winner, but everyone knew a much larger confrontation was coming. Within days, battleships, destroyers, and submarines would collide in the narrow Norwegian fjords, deciding whether Narvik would remain in German hands or become Britain's greatest victory. The fighting around Narvik entered its most decisive phase on April 13, 1940. This time, the Royal Navy returned with overwhelming strength. Leading the British force was the legendary battleship HMS Warspite, accompanied by 9 destroyers. Their mission was simple: destroy the trapped German fleet once and for all. Inside the fjords, the German destroyers were in a desperate situation. Fuel was almost gone, ammunition was running dangerously low, and escape was becoming impossible. German U-boats attempted to defend the fleet by launching torpedo attacks against Warspite, but every torpedo either missed its target or failed to explode due to technical problems. With little resistance slowing them down, the British warships pushed deeper into the fjord. Heavy naval guns opened fire, forcing the remaining German destroyers to retreat into narrower waters. British destroyers followed closely behind, and fierce close-range fighting erupted. One by one, the German ships were either sunk by British gunfire or deliberately run aground after exhausting their ammunition. Some crews continued fighting until their final shell was fired, refusing to surrender despite having no hope of escape. By the end of the battle, all 10 German destroyers that had entered Narvik had been destroyed or abandoned. Although it was a major British naval victory, the campaign was far from over. Britain did not immediately capture Narvik. Instead, Allied ground forces, including British, French, Polish, and Norwegian troops, began preparing a coordinated offensive against the German soldiers holding the town. Meanwhile, further south, the Norwegian army continued delaying the German advance. Under General Otto Ruge, Norwegian troops avoided large-scale battles and instead carried out strategic withdrawals, buying valuable time for the Allies. However, German air power, armored vehicles, and constant reinforcement steadily shifted the balance of the war. Even after losing its entire destroyer force at Narvik, Germany refused to abandon Norway. The battle had now moved beyond the sea. The final struggle would be fought on land, where thousands of Allied and German soldiers were preparing for one last showdown that would decide the fate of northern Norway. By late April and early May 1940, the battle for Norway had reached its final stage. Allied reinforcements, including British, French, Polish, and Norwegian troops, launched a determined offensive toward Narvik. Outnumbered and exhausted, German commander Eduard Dietl struggled to hold his positions. Many of his men were sailors fighting as infantry, yet they continued resisting against overwhelming odds. On May 28, 1940, the Allies finally captured Narvik, marking the first major land victory against Nazi Germany during World War II. It was a symbolic success that lifted Allied morale, but the celebration was short-lived. Far to the south, Germany had launched its massive invasion of France, transforming the entire war. Faced with a growing crisis in Western Europe, Britain and France decided they could no longer spare troops for Norway. The difficult decision was made to evacuate the country. Within days, Allied forces withdrew from Narvik, leaving the town behind. King Haakon VII and the Norwegian government escaped into exile, while the remaining Norwegian army continued fighting until June 10, 1940, when Norway officially surrendered. Although Germany emerged victorious, the campaign came at a heavy price. The Kriegsmarine lost the heavy cruiser Blücher, 2 light cruisers, all 10 destroyers at Narvik, several U-boats, and thousands of experienced sailors. These losses severely weakened Germany's navy for the rest of the war. In the months that followed, Germany was forced to station hundreds of thousands of troops in occupied Norway, tying down valuable manpower that could have been used elsewhere. Ironically, the iron ore route that had helped justify the invasion became far less important than expected. Even so, Hitler considered the operation a strategic success. Norway provided valuable naval bases, secured Germany's northern flank, and reinforced the belief that bold, high-risk offensives could deliver spectacular victories. That confidence would soon lead Hitler to launch an even greater gamble, the invasion of France. The Norway campaign proved a timeless lesson of war. Victory is not measured only by the land you capture, but by the price you pay to hold it. If you enjoyed this documentary and want to see more untold stories from history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Your support helps us bring more powerful, well-researched historical documentaries to the channel. Thanks for watching, and